Hello, this is Amit Pal, the Director of Communications at the Freedom from Religion Foundation. And today we are going to discuss the numerous chapters we have all over the country and interview one of the chapter heads. And with me in the studio to help facilitate that is our chapter liaison and my colleague, Christina Delaiden. Hello, Christina.
Hello, Amit. Thank you so much for having me today.
And who will we be chatting with today?
We'll be bringing in Cheryl Kolbe, the president of our FFRF Portland area chapter, and she'll be Skyping in today. And she'll tell us about some of the good work that they've been doing and some of the ins and outs and details of chapter leadership.
Wonderful. And can you just give some broad details about how many chapters we have around the country and how many members are specifically members of these chapters too?
Absolutely. We have 21 chapters across the country and almost 500 members who are current members of chapters as well nationwide. Of course, that doesn't include the thousands of social media supporters, meetup group friends that also participate as guests. So we really value our chapters. They are our boots on the ground. A lot of them are incredibly active in their community. Their outreach is very, very important. Sometimes, they're able to help identify and relay information about state church violations to our constitutional attorneys here at Free Thought Hall. Many of them function as large community social groups for areas that don't necessarily have access to secular organizations so that people can feel part of a community and really just being that face of an atheist. And I think that that's probably one of the most important things, just our outreach. There's so many negative stereotypes about atheists and non-theists across the country, and just to have someone that who is someone who's part of your world, then for them to be able to reach out and represent the good morals and the good ethics and the good works that we really espouse here at FFRF is very valuable.
And as you mentioned, some of them are in unexpected places, including, for example, in Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And that particular chapter has helped us a lot in spotlighting Ken Ham and his various works, such as the new art museum. Exactly. That's been wonderful. But the person we are speaking with is located in a more free-thinking portion of the United States, and she's can you introduce her and her chapter?
Yes, absolutely. Today we've got Cheryl Colby. She is the president of our FFRF Portland area chapter, and they are one of the more active groups and one of the larger groups that we've got around the country. And she'll be Skyping in, and we're happy to have her. Hi, Cheryl. Thanks so much for coming in.
Hello, Cheryl.
Hi.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Well, thank you. So, Cheryl, what prompted you to start your chapter out in the Portland area?
I think I first discovered FFRF when I went to the 2009 conference, I think it was, in Seattle. I walked in and I never felt like I belonged in a place more in my life. I knew no one.
Wow.
A few years later, the conference was in Portland and I had the opportunity to volunteer and get to know some of the FFRF staff there. And I was just so impressed, I thought, why not start a chapter in Portland? I had no idea how much work it would be, nor how rewarding it would be. But we started the chapter in February after that conference.
That's wonderful. And are there a lot of other secular groups in the Portland area that do partner with them, or are you kind of out there as a lone wolf?
There are a number of organizations. CFI is here in Portland. Humanists are here in Portland. There's a Sunday Assembly group. There's various atheist social and coffee groups and pub groups. And we do coordinate with them when we have big speakers. Any of the groups, when they have big speakers, we usually let them know and ask them to help advertise our event, or we advertise their event.
Wonderful.
We have a very different mission than the other group, which is what I love about FFRF.
And Christina, just to clarify, in case we haven't, this is Portland, Oregon, of course, not Portland, Maine.
That's correct.
Yeah.
We also have a chapter out in Maine. They're a little bit north of Portland and a little bit smaller than our Portland, Oregon chapter. And how many members do you have out in Portland, Cheryl?
Oh, well, as you know, it varies, but 75 plus, I would say.
Nice.
But we have 1,300 on our meetup site.
Wow, that is a big presence. And
we get about 30 or 40 at our meetings.
Mm-hmm. Now, you said that your particular mission is different than some of the other groups in the area. And what separates FFRF from CFI, the Center for Inquiry, and some of the other secular groups? What are the benefits of affiliating with FFRF specifically?
Yeah, good question. And I get that question fairly often. We follow exactly the purpose of national, which is to promote the constitutional principle of separation of church and state,
Nice.
and to educate the public on matters of non-deism. And I think it's that singular focus on separation of church and state that differentiates us from other organizations. And it's a mission that I think is absolutely fantastic.
We couldn't agree more. Do you come across a lot of violations in your area that you're able to communicate to the constitutional attorneys here, or are you able, is it more of a social group?
Well, we have some violations, and we've gotten involved in some fairly hot topics. We don't have as many violations as some other areas, and most of ours are in outlying areas around Portland. We were involved in the Grotto, which is a Catholic sanctuary, which has public school choirs singing in their holiday thing and raising money for the Catholic Church. And we were pretty involved in that one. We were involved trying to keep the Vancouver from hosting In God We Trust. We didn't win that one, but we convinced a few of the city councilors to object to it. And we get to work on some different kinds of things, like we're working on adding non-believers as a protected class in the city of Portland. And I think we'll have better luck in places that have lots of violations, because we have people on the city council and the Human Rights Commission in Portland that would agree with our viewpoint.
Do you have any out atheists that you're aware of on the city council?
No, I do not.
We're working on that nationally.
But they're all very, I know we had to get the approval. This is going to be a year-long process. We started last June, I think. When we got the approval of the Human Rights Commission, they were all in agreement that we shouldn't be discriminating against non-believers. So we've got a lot of people that understand that we're one of many kinds of groups that shouldn't be discriminated against.
Out there building support and sympathy for all non-believers and making room for the people who believe to have their beliefs as well. That's wonderful. Now, I know you've done a lot of really important community outreach. One of the benefits of FFRF chapter affiliation is the ability to access monetary funds, a grant from our charitable wing, which is non-belief relief. And I know that you took advantage of that and were able to help people in your community. Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, we were really excited. Last year, there was a very bad fire in the Columbia River Gorge, the Eagle Creek fire, which I think a lot of people nationwide know about. Yes. It actually closed the highway for a period of weeks. And the community Cascade Locks is right in the middle of that. And of course, their tourism dropped to literally zero, and many people lost jobs. None of the trails in that area are open this season, so it's still impacting that community. And we wanted to do something for that community, so we worked with the local market there, the Columbia Market, and used the money, a $1,000 grant, to purchase food, which we then donated to the Cascade Locks Food Bank. Their request was for meat because they rarely got any meat from other donations. And so we purchased all of the food from the Columbia Market, benefiting that market as well, because they were also hurt by the lack of business from the fires. It fed 50 families for several months. They could supply meat to 50 families for several months. And we are going to repeat that project again this year because they're still greatly impacted by the after effects of that fire.
Well, that's wonderful,
Yeah,
and it's
that's
great.
Very generous, yeah.
It's great that you can be out there as the face of the secular movement and doing good in the community. Again, combating all of the stereotypes of atheists as hedonists and self-absorbed and, rudderless, immoral characters. So we're really,
It's
really
absolutely great,
proud to
yes.
have that as something that we're able to reach out and help people in the community who really need it. What did you get? I assume positive reactions. Did you receive any, feedback from the community?
They were greatly appreciative. We had follow-up emails from Martha Lamont after the first distribution, and she was telling us this story of a family that came in looking for extra food because they had a death in the family. It turned out to be a suicide, actually, and they had a lot of family members in, and they didn't have the money to get the food to feed the family. So she was able, with our resources, to give them quite a bit of extra food, for example. Being a small community, she can reach out to those who are in particular need, which is really wonderful. And the market, of course, was ecstatic that we went through them. And that was a conscious choice. We perhaps could have purchased more food at Costco or one of the major grocery store chains, but we felt we really needed to keep all of the money local.
Nice.
And that community continues to be impacted by the destruction of the fire. And from what I understand, they're expecting their tourist season this year to be exceedingly diminished. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yeah. None of the trails are open and are not expected to open this season. Multnomah Lodge, Multnomah Falls, which is the biggest tourist attraction around the state, is open, but you can't even. It just basically you can stay right at the lodge and look at the falls, and you can't really go any further than that. So, much fewer people are going out there. Certainly all of the hikers and various tour buses aren't going out there, I would imagine. So they are really still impacted by it quite a bit.
What other sort of events do you participate in your community?
We several times a year we volunteer at the food bank, helping them repack food. So we've done that. Last year we tried out having a street fair to see how that went. We're debating whether to continue that again this year. We have speakers that come into our chapter on most months. We try and do something to educate people about things. We've had people come in and talk about RFRA, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, what it was, what the history was. We had a panel of from the Black non-believers group come in. We had a minister come in, practicing minister, whose congregation knows that he doesn't believe in God. That was a very fascinating one.
That's interesting.
We had a person come in and talk about hate crimes and the background and the causes of hate crimes. So we get some pretty interesting speakers, and I like to sort of literally educate people on some of the issues, giving them just a bit more information than they may have had. And I know particularly on the professor that talked about RFRA, afterwards I had a lot of my the attendees say, I'm going to have to rethink what I've been saying about RFRA now that I understand it better. So we're getting people to really understand the issues sometimes.
Well, that's very interesting. I will have to follow up with you and get more information about that particular atheist minister. So it sounds like you get a lot of positive feedback. Is that predominantly the response that you get from the community when you're out tabling and holding events?
Yes, yeah. Because of the kind of community we live in, where I think the least religious metropolitan community maybe in the United States. So we tend not to get a lot of negativity. We have on our Facebook page gotten some hostile people, and we have had to block people. I received one email saying I should die. I think they sent it to every chapter president, and who knows how many other people, and it may not even have come from the United States. But we get very little of that, actually. Our members are really supportive. We do a certain amount of social things because FFRF wisely advised us originally that the chapters that do succeed have a social component. And I think that's an important piece of what we do before each meeting, we have a social hour first, and then we start the meeting. And that really is a positive thing to do.
Well, it's great to build relationships, and that's the foundation of getting out there and taking on the big projects. That's really, really exciting, and we look forward to seeing much more of the things that you've got up on your docket this year, Cheryl. So how can people get involved with the Portland area chapter?
Great question. The easiest way to find out what we're doing is through Meetup. We do all of our postings on Meetup. I don't want to keep an email list of 1,300 people, I can tell you that. And Meetup is a great resource for that. And if you just go in there and then Google FFRF Portland, you would find us. It's free to join our Meetup, and then you would learn about all of our events. We do have a website now, ffrfportland.org. Where you could join our chapter or donate money, and I believe on there would be links to both our Meetup and our Facebook page. We also have a Facebook page as well that we monitor.
Wonderful, and all of that information is available on the FFRF website as well. You just go to ffrf.org. Under the About tab, there's a click on the link for chapters, and nationwide all of our chapter contact information is listed there, so anyone who's not in the Portland area and won't be able to join your specific chapter can look for whoever is closest to them and get involved locally. We're really excited to bring more people on and to spread the free thought around the country. So, well, Amit, did you have any more questions that you'd like to ask of Cheryl?
No, Cheryl seems to be doing great work, and it tempts me to pretty much fly to Portland, and which I've never been to, and to and to participate in the meetings. Thanks, Cheryl. And it's great to have these chapters all over the country doing their wonderful work.
Absolutely. And anyone who has a specific question for Cheryl can certainly send us an email at askanatheist@ffrf.org.
That's correct.
Yep. And or you can just ask your question right here on their Facebook page, and she will get back to you. So yeah. Let's see if we've got any questions here for this week. Thanks again for joining us, Cheryl.
Thank you so
we
much,
really
Cheryl.
appreciate it. And thank you.
One thing that I would like to point out is the support that chapters get from National. It's really extremely impressive. There is some financial benefit that we get back for our memberships. What's almost even more significant is you've always been there when we need advice on an issue. We have questions. I know the first time I was interviewed by the media when a TV truck was going to pull up in front of my house, it was definitely out of my comfort zone at that time. I talked with Andrew, one of your lawyers, and he was great on giving me pointers on what they probably want to know and what questions I should answer or how I should answer. That kind of support is so valuable.
Well, we're always glad to help, Cheryl, and that's so kind of you to put in a good word for us.
Absolutely. Well, let's see if we've got any questions from our audience today. Corey DeRocher, sorry if I mangled that, asks, do I have to be an FFR member to start a chapter? And the short answer is yes. You do need to be an FFRF member in order to be a chapter leader. And in fact, you need to have 10 other FFRF members in your area who are willing to work together to start a chapter. The best way to pursue that option, of course, is to get familiar with our organization. We find that our most successful chapters are those that are run by people who are very familiar with FFRF and our philosophy and just the way that we work. So you can get more of that information again at our website, ffrf.org. And if you have any questions, you can send an email to info, that's info, at ffrf.org. And that'll find its way to me, and I will do what I can to answer those questions. We have one more question here. Megan Warner asks, what do you think the main benefit of joining a chapter is? The community, meeting other atheists?
Going out and doing good work, spreading the free thought message. I'm trying to, and for example, Cheryl gets interesting people to come and speak. Organizing that, getting them out in the community. I mean, so there are multiple benefits that one can get from starting a chapter and being a member.
Absolutely. It's amazing working in the administrative department here at Free Thought Hall, how many folks call us up after seeing our Ron Reagan ad or, seeing about us on the radio or the news and say, I didn't even know there were other atheists out there. This is amazing. It's something that even in 2018, our outreach is just getting out there.
Sure.
And the benefits of our chapters, again, it's the faces of the people that you know in the community, getting to know more people in the community, bringing in people who may not be free thinkers, but support the separation of church and state and respect the ability of everyone to, practice what they believe and enjoy our secular government in, the protections that it provides for everyone.
Certainly, Christina. And Cheryl mentioned some of the more tangible benefits, such as financial, media advice. So, as I said, there are multiple ways that one can benefit by starting a chapter and being a chapter member.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And then, you can always see if you can get Dan Barker to come out and
Sure.
talk or debate anyone if they've got somebody
Certainly.
particularly fire in the community.
Always up for that, yeah.
Yeah, certainly. And here, speaking of Dan Barker, FFRF co-president Dan Barker asks, can we start a chapter in Peru? Dan, we need you to come back. So I'm not gonna okay that right now. We are, of course, specifically focused on the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. So we're gonna work here because we have a lot of work to do here.
So
currently.
Here we should mention the reason that Dan Barker is contacting us from Peru is that he's been invited there by free thinkers to talk and to participate in the conference, and so he'll be there for a few days, and so it's work and fun both combined, and along with FFRF co-president Annie Laurie Gaylor, and we're expecting him back in the office in a few days.
Well, if he doesn't find himself a chapter down there.
Certainly.
Anyway, and so that's all the questions we've got today, Amit.
Well, wonderful. Thanks so much for contacting us. Thanks so much for watching. This is Amit Pal, the Director of Communications for the Freedom from Religion Foundation. And with me here in the office has been Christina Delaiden, our chapter liaison. We were talking with Cheryl Kolbe, who's the head of our Portland, Oregon chapter. And thank you so much for tuning in to Ask an Atheist. And we'll see you next Wednesday at the same time, noon Central. Thank you.